Okay, please be quiet. Tell me what to do.
Okay, there
All
we
right,
go.
yeah, so this app is trying to tell me what to do. All right, welcome to Manifestors and Projectors in Business Together. You guys, are you guys here for the workshop? Yeah. All right, cool. Come on, tuck on in. We cozied it up because there was one here. Be careful of that device over there. My iPhone is just sitting precariously in the air. And I'm going to do something really cool because I am recording. We're recording several ways because we promised to do this. So I'm just getting everyone that's here. Hello, everyone. All right, so before we get started, we do have some questions, and we want to get a little bit of an introduction from all of you to find out who's here in the audience. So starting here at my left, can I have you tell us your type and profile?
I'm a 5'1" splenic energy projector.
All right, and what would you like to get out of this workshop?
I currently work with a manifestor in doing planning classes, and so how to better work with her and things I can suggest to her as well.
Sounds good. All right. You, sir?
Mark, Jermaine, a 3'5" splenic projector, and have no expectations, so I'm just going to see what unfolds.
Sounds good.
I'm Allison. I'm a 5'1" self-projected projector, and my romantic and business partner is a manifestor, so I'd love to go just learn everything I can about that dynamic.
Love that.
I'm a 1-3 self-projected projector. I'm in business with a manifestor, my sister. So just seeing how we can better work together and expand.
Nice.
I'm Sophia. I'm a 1-3 emotional projector, and I have no expectations. Just lots of manifestors in my life.
Okay, cool.
Hello, I'm Krista, and I'm a 4-6 manifestor. This is my daughter Leah, the 1-3 projector, and with my other daughter, the 5'2" manifestor. So they have a business together, and if I ever, sometimes I'm the mediator.
Yeah. You're surrounded. Okay, Leah. And you?
I'm Amy Douglas. I'm a 3'5" emotional manifestor, and this is my podcast co-host. So we have a lot of things in the works, and we've been together for a while, so we're just here to figure out how we can do it best.
Hi, I'm Monique. I'm a 1-4 splenic projector. Like Amy said, we have a podcast called Love You ManiSpirio. So we're a manifestor projector duo, and so this was just perfect for us when we saw it.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Colin. I'm a 4-6 splenic projector, and I'm working with an emotional manifestor on some projects. So just starting.
Awesome.
So I'm a 2-4 manifesting generator. Sorry for infiltrating.
No.
But I have a lot of clients who are manifestors and projectors, and I work in the business world. So I just love to witness this conversation and see how I can support better.
All right. Thanks, you guys. And I don't know, I'm not a great camera person, but we're just going to leave that set up here. We're doing our best. All right. So thank you all for introducing yourselves. My name is Adrienne. I am a 1-3 Ego Authority Manifestor. I only have one channel, so I have like 7 open centers, and it's hot chaos over here.
And then I'm Izora. I'm her daughter, and I'm a 1-3 emotional projector. I have the 6447 up in my head and ajna, and the 1949 down in my root and solar plexus.
Yeah. And just for a little bit more clarity, I guess it sounds like most of you are pretty familiar with human design. Who's feels like they're relatively new? Okay, good. And then I know we have some very experienced people in the audience. Mark, I'm looking at you. So we're going to try to keep it kind of like pretty high level, because I think that for us, it isn't about all the deep stuff. It is really about some simple high level things. So the first thing that we like to talk about with this particular dynamic is what's wrong with this picture. Yeah. So when we're talking about doing business and nobody has a sacral, it can be very interesting, because who does the work? Who does the work? And who, we don't get a satisfaction from a job well done. It just doesn't happen. So when you have 2 non-sacrals, I would say that on the surface it looks suboptimal. You have anything to say about that?
I think that, yeah, so part of the suboptimalness is that, like she said, there's no satisfaction of a job well done. It's really like, it can be easy to get sucked into the hunger of there's more that needs to be done. And we actually get to talk about the electromagnetics between us and how that manifests. Basically, because of the way that our charts interact, we actually get what we call the sacral. It's a faux sacral, and this faux sacral gives us the ability when we're together to be able to tackle some of this harder work. And one our policy around the sacral is that you don't gulp from the sacral, you sip from the sacral. You have to be very gentle about how much of that sacral energy you take on and personalize, because even though there is work that needs to be done, we still need to respect ourselves as individuals and our individual needs when it comes to energy and rest.
Yeah. So with our two charts combined, we do get the sacral, or we call it the shadow sacral, because anytime that you're doing an electromagnetic, especially for us, well, she has a defined root. Of course, neither of us have a defined sacral, so we just have these two places. I have an undefined root, so we are tapping into an energy source that feels amazing, is very addictive, right? Because it's sacral energy. It's not real sacral energy. It's definitely something that we're creating as we get together, but it's just as addicting as any other thing. We have to be so careful. Every once in a while, I'm like, hey, let's go on a walk. And the walk is just a time to rest and decompress, but we will start talking shop. So what ends up happening between, two people who are working together, it all becomes work, especially if you define a sacral between the two of you. And you have to be very mindful, right? Using your mind as an ally to say, hey, wait, we're off work. And so one of the things that she has developed, she has a lot of playtime because in her spare time, Zora is she's a gamer. But it's like Dungeons and Dragons with people around the world. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure how it all works. But her game times are sacred for her, which means I can't come talking any kind of shop to her when it's game time. And so there's an important idea around boundaries, and also around just the possession of motors, period. So, of course, I'm a manifester. All manifestors are a motor to the throat, no matter which way you're configured. So that means you have due energy. Some of you here are projectors with motors. Your motor, yeah, he's got ego. The dinky motor. That's my motor as well. It's the dinkiest motor on the planet. Like, it's terrible. But I love it. I mean, it's the one I have. And you said you were motorized.
Yes, I have a root and an ego.
Root and ego. Like, how lucky. I mean, it's so. I mean, for me, it's like any additional motors feel like a prize to me, because when you're dealing with just the ego motor, it's not just the ego motor. I can move mountains, but then I have to go and lay down for 4 times as long as I worked. Sometimes it's just that way. Zora has an emotional motor and the root motor, and those are powerful. This one can work me under the table.
I can do something all day, especially if I enjoy it all day.
Yeah.
And part of the beauty of this relationship is that she can actually see me. I go all day, and sometimes it's like, of course, no sacral. When is enough? I don't really know, but we have to look out for each other. Like, if I am starting to run into the end of my steam, she's like, hey, you should probably go lay down. And if she needs being taken care of after she has caused a whole storm, I can be there for her.
Yeah,
great.
and it looks so it's like a lot of it is about looking out for each other and looking for signs. The manifester has to be really careful to look at their projector partner. So because I know her energy is different than mine, and she can do things all day. Like I remember when she was in art school, she'd art all day, and I'm like, wow, that is all this endurance. I don't understand it because I
8
thought
to 12 hours.
I thought she was like a projector, but apparently curiosity and dopamine can really keep you guys going. But sometimes if you're not mindful enough to say, I need to get horizontal, right? So I'm not even telling you to go, I don't say like go to sleep or even lay down, but it's like you need to get your body in the horizontal position and continue your activities from there. And it's the same thing with me as a manifester, but my tiredness looks different than hers. Y'all, I just walk around in circles. I like pace, like I just pace. I like pace and I'm walking around in circles and it looks really ridiculous. And she'll look at me and she'll say, okay, and you're the projector though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have an ego motor too.
Oh, it's the ego, yeah, because
So I
it's
relate to
yeah, the ego.
she has a root,
yeah needs to
solar, like,
needs to rest. Doesn't even know how. So it's just walking in circles, being ridiculous, and then she'll just say, "Hey." Or if I'm, snippy or weird, because we live in the house with a manifesting generator, who just so happens to not be there most of the time, which is good for everybody, good for him, good for us. But like if I am being like kind of mean, and she's like, "Hey, you're being mean," or like, "You need a snack." Sometimes I'm hangry. Okay, whatever. One other thing I want to really kind of shine a spotlight on is, and this is just to protect projectors, is that manifestors can move a lot of energy, right? So at times we look like Moby Dick, like it's the big whale of, you're like, "Look at that whale, I'm gonna harpoon that sucker and you can ride it." But we're not like generators, because literally we'll turn from Moby Dick to a canary on your ass where there's no energy. And especially me with this ego, oh my God. It's like, it's big, it's like she said, causing a storm. It's like boom, boom, boom. Oh my God, what's going on? And then I am like in a corner somewhere, curled up in the fetal position, completely unavailable to do any work. So unlike if you were to partner with a generator who will have much more sustainable, reliable energy, the manifester in your partnership, if they're anything like me, because that's especially, like I said, I have the one motor, it can feel, it could be disappointing. It could be, it could feel like really bad, because it's like, oh,
You had all this energy. Yeah, I thought
we were about to do this thing. Yeah, no, I literally sometimes birthing the idea. Who does that? You do that?
Does that to me.
I think that's hilarious. I mean, but we had to actually, it's like managing expectations, really, to understand like, hey, I'm not going to be able to always be that fulsome doer. So like this week I might be that. Next week there might be none of that. And so I'm like, sometimes she has to watch me go out in the garden and watch the flowers grow. Like literally, that's what the manifestor has to go do. I got to go play. And then, her game nights are all organized. It's like, yeah, no, Saturday and Friday, and they happen at special times. Mine just it seems like it happens to me. And, not taking it personal is going to be a really big thing for the partnership, because, that's
it's not personal.
It's not personal. Any questions so far, or observations, or anybody you want to share something like, does this resonate with you? Has this been happening in your relationships? Come on, y'all.
Yeah. I think a lot of ways that resonate. I mean, I think we both play into a lot of those patterns that you said.
Yeah.
And managing the expectations point, which I think that you're good at. Pretty well.
35, 36.
So, yeah. And you kind of have to be, I guess. You've gotten really good at it. But, yeah.
I'm with Mark. No expectations today. Thank you very much.
And so I know we have the Bauman family here, and the other manifestor is not here right now.
Yeah, no.
can I just ask you a little question about your relationship with your manifestor sister? Because like we're related. Clearly, that's my daughter. But like, what are some of the things that you've noticed in your interactions that have maybe made you feel uncomfortable? Because I'm looking at your chart from here and I'm like, oh wow, so you don't have the motors.
No. I feel a lot of conflict with like discerning who does what, like having equal shared work. But we're like a few years in now, so we're finally figuring out like who fits into where. I do a lot of the selling like in person. She does a lot of the behind the scenes things, and so it like works out kind of, but a lot of figuring out discernment of where our energy fits into the system.
Yeah, I like that. So one of the things you just said, and I think it's kind of important to come back to that, like who does what. And for us, because we're doing a tech startup, it's been very interesting. So I told you guys I have like the ego in the throat, and I had a 20-year-long IT career. So if we're doing a tech startup, who's going to be the tech lead? Well, me, of course, right? Except that's not true. In our case, the art student, I paid for art school. Literally, she's a very talented artist, but she, projector, puzzle solver, literally merged with the machine. We use a no-code platform called Bubble. She merged with it, and now she's our tech lead. So it's like a lot of the working together really is reliant on being able to recognize the projector's natural talents and not have her do things that are not a part of her nature. She has a lot of two lines. So usually I'm out front. But let me tell you something. I have this badass manifestor aura. And every once in a while, when we have to be in pentas or groups, right? So we were part of a startup incubator. And literally, when we want something, I send her. She goes in and they melt, they give it to her. And for me, I have encountered resistance in those situations, especially inside of pentas, because I don't know if you guys know this, but small groups, I don't count partnerships as a small group, but as you start to grow, the manifestor energy likes to hang outside at the edge of a penta or not really be in a penta at all. Y'all, and I have felt it. Like we were in a this incubator, and they were going to bring us in with developers and help us to build our platform. And they sent all the men in the room to come talk to me, to make me actually try to control the manifestor. And I was like sitting there, I maintained my composure, but it was like a storm on the inside. I literally went home that night and just melted onto the floor. The kitchen floor, just had a meltdown. But then we did our own thing, right? I had to be in that situation, and she watched it happen. And she was like, to watch the dynamics happen in real life with muggles, like, non-magical folk, non-HD people, they don't know that that's exactly what they were doing. And so we then, leaned into the idea that oftentimes when there are, generator resources to talk to, sometimes, if I'm there to impact, but if we kind of need energy, we send her. Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to talk more about the electromagnetic. So I know that you said you're pretty new. All right. So do you happen to have your sister's chart here with you?
I do.
Oh, delightful. Right. Because so what we have found is like you should look at your combined superpowers, because all partnerships, whenever you're amongst other people, there's conditioning happening. And I love conditioning. Conditioning is fun to me. It's not something I take seriously. It's not mine. But it's like you play in it, and then you have to be able to leave it behind. So for us, we determined that our electromagnetics, even though that's where one person has a half of a channel and the other person has another half of a channel, and we connect, and it's like zzz. Those are like superpowers. Those are things that neither of us have on our own, but when we were together, we do some really cool things. And then those are the places where you are stronger together. You're doing some cool stuff. you have to be aware of the fact that when you're not in each other's presence, kind of that whole connection doesn't happen. It's so funny because we have several electromagnetics, and if you were to see, our charts, Zora has a really wide split. She's got the ajna and the head defined and the root and the emotion. It's like all empty spaces in there. And then I have 7 open centers. So all I have is the 2145. So I have an ego and throat. But somehow I bridge her split, y'all. It's perfect.
Do you have your little chart with you?
Yeah, it's on my bag, right?
It's on your bag? Okay, because we can pass this around. Is it on your bag? Yeah, it is on your bag.
Yeah, but I probably knotted it up and did weird things. All right, so
I think you did good.
The fact that I bridge her split is kind of important, and also how we connect. So if you've never done, looked at connecting charts, there's a few kind of major themes you want to look at. Like when you put your charts together,
Charts together.
Oh, that's your charts together. So you guys have 3 open centers.
I
got it.
Our ajna is like completely open.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, wow.
So it's really interesting because when I think about partnerships, like 9 and 0 would mean like all of the centers are defined. So you're kind of locked into each other. Could be good, could be bad, could feel very claustrophobic, could feel really a great vibe, but you got to take space. We're 8 and 1, which is have some fun, and y'all, I'm having a ball. This is, I've known her all her life because I gave birth to her. But in the context of having a business with her, it has completely changed the dynamic. I'm not the boss, which is kind of nice because, I don't know, have y'all heard that manifestors are retiring?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, you all can take care of yourself now.
I'm like running towards retirement, guys. Like, so...
and she deserves it, okay? She worked a lot. She deserves to retire.
I work so much. But we're 8 and 1 together, and we get to have...
And single definition. Like, the way that our charts connect is really, I think, very unique.
Yeah. So one of the... We'll talk about that in a minute, because when I see a 6 and 3, there's always going to be a lot of... tension. I won't say tension. So like those kind of relationships, when you have 3 centers open, that means there's 3 ways for you to escape out of your relationship, or 3 avenues. And if you guys don't meet in all those 3 at the same time, which is very difficult, then it becomes hard to keep the relationship together. So when we talk about connecting charts, it's 9 and 0, nowhere to go. 8 and 1, have some fun. 7 and 2, work to do. That's my partner and I, her dad. There's work to do, y'all. And then 6 and 3 is best be free. Quite frequently, it's very difficult to keep those relationships really tight because there's a window, a door, and an escape hatch out of the doing together. But if you guys are managing it, probably because of some interesting things like we're sisters and we love this thing, and so it kind of can keep it together.
I found that we do a lot of separate work. Like our work comes together, but we do a lot of I do the selling at the farmers markets and the craft shows, whatever, and then she does a lot of the creation behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And it just sort of works with our personalities as well, because like you said, the manifestor likes to be not in the heart of the thing, and then I have enough energy to do it about 2 times a week. So
Wow.
yeah, it kind of works, and then we come together for decision making and planning, but a lot of the actual heart of the work is separate.
And that, so listening to that is, I just want you to understand, there is no optimal perfect relationship. Entering in it correctly, making the decision to be there and committing to it every day. For us, because of course we sleep separately, but we meet each other every day around the idea of doing these things together. And so it is we're both 1-3s. We get to disconnect and reconnect. And it's recommitment every time. Oh, no, we're back. We're here. We're in it. So just because you're 6 and 3 does not mean it can't work. It just means that, as you said, there'll be a lot of separate work.
Yeah.
We are single definition. So when you put us together, her split gets bridged. We don't have any breaks. And some of our electromagnetics, which have been working well for us, I'm going to tell you, so electromagnetics are conditioning. So it gives you definition where there was none for at least one of the people. Unless you have 2. So with me, because I'm so open, that's the way it works with us, because I just have a lot of places that are not, there's no definition there. And it's like getting superpowers. It's very seductive and productive. So electromagnetics where we connect, but they can sometimes be destructive. Just being careful that all conditioning is, in a lot of ways, it's kind of messing with you. It's messing with you, making you think this is yours, and you can call it up when you're by yourself. Like, there's certain things y'all, I have open head ajna, completely open ajna. I have one little defined or fixed gate in my head. She's got a defined head ajna, and we get the 2343 together, the freak to genius. We get that one. I don't think I can think by myself. I'm not saying like I'm creative. I get all sorts of inspirations and stuff like that. But when it's time to think about a solution to something, I'm like, hey, can we do a sesh? And we have a big ass whiteboard, and the sesh happens when we're both in aura with one another, like literally within the room, because we have an office that we share. We need to be in the room together. And quite frequently, I need the projector to be looking at what I'm looking at. It's the weirdest thing. I was like, I'm a manifestor. I don't think I need projectors to guide me or none of that shit. And I was like, oh no, I do. When I'm working with her, I'm like, hey, let's look at this together. And the same thing happens with her, because she has a split. Well, I mean, she has a completely open throat. You guys have seen.
Completely open throat, completely open G.
Completely open G. Okay. So like what ends up happening is, sure, she got all that stuff happening up there. There's no way for it to come down. And so it's not until we're in the room together and doing it, like I said, seductive. Like, we could think forever. We can brainstorm. We can plan.
Think your work forever.
As a parent looking in on their relationship,
yeah.
This is where I get frustrated when I'm looking in, because she'll have some fantastic ideas. You know, she's the more creative.
Yeah.
Where her sister, with her very defined ego and her very defined identities, it just shuts it down.
Yeah.
And that's where I get frustrated as a parent, because she'll come with these items, and then she'll say, well, I really wanted to do, they do candles, so I really wanted to do this scent. And then her sister's like, no, I don't like that one. And it's like, it's literally just shuts it down. And I'm like, no, this is where the frustration, I believe, is going to really rise. This is where this is your breaking point, is the fact that you're not getting your ideas through, and your sister's not being at all open to, you know, when she shuts something down, it's almost over. And
I think that what you're saying is super important. Because we're partners, and like, I'm an ego manifestor. You don't get more ego-y than me, because literally that's all I am. I am a one-trick pony. I got one channel. This is it. And it really takes for a decision to be made. And the decision inside, right? Because like, we have no choice. Right? No choice. Some people fight against that. And no choice is just really like, you have to deal with the real body chemistry that you're in right now. You don't have a choice. But you start to make subtle decisions. And I made a decision. I birthed this person. So people think that there is an ownership. I have no ownership of her. Is your sister older than you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Being older don't mean shit. You know? So me being older than her means absolutely nothing. Me having been the one to birth her means absolutely nothing. We are in this together. And if I want us to succeed together, then I have to be open, and I have to listen and hear the idea, because the reality is, it's so funny. She's an artist, but I'm more, I won't say more creative, but my creativity, a lot of it is from the openness. So the way we trade this energy back and forth is in these conversations and in these brainstorming sessions, where no idea is a bad idea. That we must allow it. And then not only do we must we allow it, but there are times when I have to decide that the projector's idea, we must try it. We must let it, because we're both 1-3s. We just want to try stuff. Yeah. I saw something and want to try it. We have to do that. So I think that it's really important that, you know, well, like, listen, just hook your sister up with me, because most of them, you know, my best work, I feel like in life has been with Manifestor women. Like, we did the largest Manifestor women retreat up in Colorado, 20 Manifestor women on a mountain, because quite frequently we need to get together to understand that the peace is our signature. So the anger and the control are things that we have to let go. We become such better manifestors. We become able to bring and birth the most beautiful things if we don't have that control issue, and to allow someone else to be something. Now, what I will say though is, if you are a projector, you want to partner with a manifestor, quite frequently they don't want to be invited to your ideas, right? They don't want to be invited to your ideas. And I know that. I understand that. I understand that this concept it birthed through me. And then at a certain point, now we'll talk a little bit more about that. When did Zora know that it was safe to come on board with a manifestor? Because I don't think it's just safe to be on board with a manifestor. Manifestors are full of ideas and full of energy, and their energy can disappear. So when is it safe for the projector to get in, right? When is it safe? I would say, like, being able to, at times, inform the manifestor. You can prime them up to accept your ideas. You can.
That's a process, yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah.
And so what might it look like? Because quite frequently it's like, oh, there's a scent that you want to introduce for your candles. It's almost like a manifestor needs to think it was their idea. Now I'm gonna tell you, projectors, y'all are
in the back, like, amen, okay.
Projectors are smart. This is what you start to listen. Ross said that connection charts can be black magic. Projectors, it's up to you to know how that connection chart works. And whatever you need to do and to learn, because let me tell you, your sister has an opening. There's a key to be able to, like, slip that in. And I would do it, because honestly, manipulation is, I don't have morals against manipulation. We manipulate. Huh? Do I have it? No, she's got the 26, 26, and I've got the 44. So if you think about this, we call that the, like, first of all, with the 2347, I can hear her thoughts. We were at the chiropractor.
And I can hear her thinking. I can't hear her thoughts, but I can hear her thinking.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. She'll feel me think. She's like, you're thinking. And I'm like, yeah. And then I actually can hear her actual thoughts. We were at the chiropractor, 2 separate therapy rooms. They were really close together, though. We're
separated by a wall.
We're horizontal on therapy beds. She's on the water massage bed. I'm on this roller bed. And I can see myself thinking about something I already solved. And it was about how we were going to pay for the extra visits above what our insurance was going to cover. We got 18 visits a year, but we needed 26 visits. And I'm like, well, how are we going to pay? Like, are we going to do it? But the thing is, I had already solved that like 3 days ago. We get out of the chiropractor, we get in the car, and she's like, I think I figured out how we're going to pay for our extra sessions. I'm like, Zora, I already did that. And that was you thinking. It was you. I could hear her actual thoughts. I was doing math and dividing weeks and shit. And I was like, wait, I already did this.
That was literally what I was doing in the other room. I was doing math and dividing weeks.
Yeah. So that's for us, the 2340, the freak to genius. 2343. I wrote in the wrong number. 2343. The freak to genius. That's what happens as I get to hear her thoughts and she can feel me thinking. We have the 4426 as an electromagnetic, right? So neither of us have a defined spleen, except we get one. I have the defined ego, but she's got the 26, which I call the sales clown. She's a clown. I mean, I love clowning. She loves clowns and clowning. It's really so. For us, it is being able to move people, and for me, having the 44, I'm the one who. These are the people, and she has just sharp insights on how to move the people. Together, we get that. When I'm by myself, I mean, I can, it's like a sometimey thing. But when we do things together, we know who to speak to and how to speak to them. Yeah, so that's kind of the one of the best electromagnetics, and the one that gives us a sacral is down from the root to the sacral, the 952. I got the 52 in my conscious Jupiter, and she's got the 9 several. You got
Twice in my Plutos.
yeah. So when I walk into our office, our shared office space, which I do not hang out down there. Like I have a computer down there and everything. She hangs out there all the time. It's really, I think it's her space. But she hangs out there all the time. I only come down there when it's work time. Because as soon as I step in the door, in her aura, we call it the focus zone. Not the focus zone. Like, it's so wild, especially for me, with, my viewpoint is right. Like, I'm a very distractible person. It's like squirrel, what's going on? But I walk in there and it's like zoned in, and that's the sacral juice. The focus is that fake sacral juice. It's so delicious. I feel superhuman. I'll be honest with you. Like, having grown up as a person that could not focus, I walk in that room, and I'm like, I could solve any problem. I could do anything. I have to get the hell out of there, y'all, because I will literally just continue to focus forever. We also get the 3457, which, y'all, this is how we bully our manifesting generator at home. He also has a 3457. But we together have it. He's like, I feel bullied. We're a house full of bullies. He has the same ego manifestor line that I have, and he has a 515 and a 3457. And it's like, what? Come here. What you gonna do? And it's like, what you gonna do? Tag team. So it's hilarious. But that gives us the ability when we're together to solve problems like immediately.
Do it now.
Like,
do it now.
I don't have to do it now. She's emotional. We don't have to do it now normally. But when we have that connection going, we have to be super careful with it, because do it now can happen at midnight.
That's not ideal.
This one will be like, I'll be like, Zora, are you looking at Bubble? Bubble is the system we build.
No. She's like, no, I'm literally looking at it. I'm literally working. You're like, no, I'll stop working.
And that's why sometimes I just have to walk all the way away.
Yeah, because once she walks away, that's when I can actually finally disengage. And even then, it takes a second, because I'm emotional.
And have a wide split.
Yeah, emotional wide split. I'm thinking about a thing. I'm doing things with my little hands. And it'll take maybe about 20 minutes for me to be like, okay, I can disengage now, because I'm now conscious, like, okay, this is suboptimal work. I can stop that.
So, like, giving each other space to disconnect from each other's energy. Because seriously, especially those electromagnetics, oh my God,
it's so fun. It's a lot of fun. Like you can really
so good.
It's like playing tennis.
And then all of a sudden, because we have a sacral now, we're in like response mode, and it feels all juicy. Like, she's like, yeah, and
we're moving mountains, we're getting it done. Handle the responsibility.
Go to sleep. Got to walk away. Sometimes we got to walk away. So the other important part about these connections are the compromises. So is everyone familiar with what a compromise is in a chart? If you're not familiar, I'm just going to go over it really quickly. A compromise is where one person has the complete channel and the other person has like a piece of it. And we're going to say something a little bit heretical. I got like 2 fifth lines in my entire chart. I am no heretic. But sometimes I say wild shit. And I'm going to tell you, I think compromises work different than a lot of people think they do. Like, one of the ideas is that, like, the person with the complete channel, like, is the boss of the channel. Like, yeah, and you just don't try to be like me because I got the whole thing. And what I've actually found is, like, sometimes compromise actually, in a lot of ways, I don't say breaks the person with the full channel, but it gives the person with the full channel a break. Because, so it's, how do I go about this? The one I'm going to talk about is the 4521. It's my only channel. Zora has the 21 in an undefined ego. And the 21, the themes of that gate are control. And really, I would say part of the entirety of the 4521 is defining territory. I'm going to tell y'all, in my experience with this, having the full channel and then working with someone and partnering up with someone with the 21, is that one, it's like hierarchy doesn't exist here. We are equal partners. I do think, because I have been alive longer and I do have maybe some additional knowledge and wisdom that she may not have, but then honestly, I can say the same thing about her. She knows things that I didn't know about. Some things I regret being made to watch, but
I make her watch videos.
She's taking me to parts of YouTube. I'm like, what is this we're watching? But for me, it has been the lesson of the 4521 to be able to share and give control. I find that people who have the 45 without the 21 know how to delegate well. Yeah. I did not know how to do that well. And on top of that, to give her control over something that I have expertise in information technology. I have a degree, okay, and a 20-year career. Yet she is our tech lead without a doubt.
And it's my territory.
It's her territory. That 21, she has control over that. So I don't just go into bubble and start bouncing around in there. No. It's like, hey, mother, may I have to come and say, like, I was thinking, and I have to run it past her. And then we have to go and figure out how it gets done. And then she implements it only after approving how it gets done and all of that. So for me, it's been a real shift in how I can work with someone. And it's grown me up. I released some control out of the ego. I feel like I won a little something. I don't know what I won. But yeah.
So talking about figuring out how to get it done. So I have the 6447 and I believe you have the 64. And the way I like to describe the defined head and ajna is it's like concrete. I have very set ways of thinking and set ways of approaching problems. And instead of me trying to basically ram my concrete head against a problem, I find that she actually comes in, and because this is an abstract channel, it happens a lot through pictures and diagrams. When I go to plan something, I plan it very linearly. It's literally like I'm writing words and then I'm just doing columns of words, and she has to come and be like, this is undecipherable. Here, let me draw a diagram and a picture. And like she said, she has an IT career. I went to school for art. You would think that I would have a more creative brain. I don't. I have a very logical, concrete brain, and when I encounter someone with an open head and ajna, it's like they have a soft, malleable brain. They have a brain that's made out of clay, and they can actually make the vessel for the real solution to come through. And in that sense, I have given up knowing how to do things and also what needs to be done. Because, I have my own ideas about what needs to be done, but I highly value her ideas of what needs to be done next. Because if it were up to me, I could drill down into something forever. That's kind of how the 6447 is, I think. It's like you can really try and dig into a thing you've already done forever, and she helps break me out of that by saying, hey, here's a different thing that actually we need to prioritize. Did I get everything in?
Well, yeah, she's the one. She has 2 channels, and so her other channel is, I'm going to let you talk about it, but the 1949. I have the 49 in an undefined emotional center, and The 49 is oftentimes called the gate of rejection, but it has a lot of other keynotes as well. But in my case, because that's one of my fifth lines, it is gate of rejection. It's in my unconscious moon, y'all. And I'm like, in person, all sorts of weird shit sometimes happens. I'm like, what is happening right now? And it's like, yeah, anyway.
Okay, yeah, because I think, so for the 1949, so both the solar plexus and the root are really slow moving. I like to think of myself kind of like as a mountain. I'm pretty unmovable. I'm not really being rushed. But in this relationship, I also let her set the pace for certain things, because if it were up to me, I would drag things out. Things would happen over long periods of time. Uh, but in this relationship, that means that we will actually move faster than I expect. I'm surprised by how fast we can move. I think something needs to take a week, and then she's like, "Oh, well, I'll compensate," because I'm like, I know I overestimate, so maybe it's not a week, maybe it's 3 days, and then we get it done in a day. It's great. So there's that aspect of it, but there's also a secondary aspect, because I think the 1949 is actually a really complex channel, because it's describing something that is socially complex, and her 49 dictates provisions and where those provisions go, like which tribe members benefit from the provisions. And she communicates that to me. She's like, I'm sending provisions to somebody. And when she's sending provisions to members of our tribe, I feel really good about that, because I also have a philanthropic spirit, but I don't pick who's getting the provisions. She picks who gets the provisions, and I approve of her choices. When she's like, I'm gonna send provisions to this person, I approve. Partially because of that philanthropic spirit, but because I believe in supporting the tribe.
And also, when she says she approves, I actually am seeking her approval. So one of the other weird parts of that 4521 with her, the 21, she's actually the money lady. Because if she didn't have her hands on the purse strings, I would just give all the money away. Seriously, because listen, the 4521 is not so concerned with money. I don't know why they call that one the money line. I do know why they call it the money. I know why it was called the money line, but
it's really the redistribution line.
Yeah, it's like, and boy, would I just be handing it out. And she's like, wait, no, we have bills to pay, and we have things that we have, other things that we have to meet. So, yeah, those compromise areas are actually, I would say, giving us some different perspectives on how to work with another person. It lets me relax around the control. It lets her relax around even being the one
creative. Being able to relax around being creative. Like I said, I had an art career. It was really like, the creativity falls on you as the artist. And being able to let go of needing to be creative, I get to be creative for myself in my personal life. I don't have to be creative as like a job.
Yeah, and that was something we had seen. I think it was like a long time ago. She was in high school, and I was like, saw that kind of indicated in her chart, was like creativity as something, as like your own personal therapy versus something that you had to make into a career, because it's easy to want to make that be the case, right? So one other thing, so back to us being 8 and 1. When we put our charts together,
it's the fun part.
For us, because it's 8 and 1, have some fun. The openness in your chart is where the relationship gets to breathe. So the partnership breathes for us through the G center. Izora has a completely open G center. Y'all, we don't know where we're going. And I have one activation in an undefined G center. So when you put us together, we still just have that one little activation I have. We get to share it.
We lean on it hard.
We cultivate it. It's like a little fire. We're like, look at you, little guy. Come on, little fella. So it's
Which gate is that?
It is the gate 7. Gate 7 is called the army, but it's also like, so that the complete channel is like democratic leadership. So when you think about someone who got elected to be a leader, you're looking at that 731 energy. The person who's like, you know, the administrator and who got elected by everybody. They're like, hey, you should have the power. You seem responsible. You're invited to it. We don't have the full string. We only have the 7 together, and we share it when we're together. But what we found is, first off,
That's a 7-3.
yeah.
Same line? You both the same line?
No. I am the only one who has it. She has a completely open G center.
Oh.
And a completely open throat, right? So like there's nothing around there, like nothing calling to it. There's nothing happening, guys. And what we found is there's a few things that are happening. Our direction is set by our tribe. That 7, that particular gate means that, you know, and in addition to other things, like I have the 2145, like literally, I don't really belong in a penta, but I do really pretty well in a wa. A wa is over 16 people or several pentas put together. I do really well in larger organizations. When I worked for General Motors, I had no problems, guys. I was having a good time. Well, I mean, as good as I could have until, like, you know, human design broke me. So serious. So a lot of what we're doing together, what's dictating our direction, is actually the voice of our tribe. So just to let you guys know, we are launching a platform, and the platform's called MySpirio. And MySpirio is the result of a lot of research. We're both 1-3s, and what we did was we talked to the tribe. And so in a lot of ways, what that 7 is having us do, between the being 1-3s, and is we're asking the tribe. So what we did was we asked people who provide human design services and those who buy human design services, what do you guys need? What do you want? Overwhelmingly, we talked to some seekers, so people who have purchased human design services in the last year, what they wanted and what were the problems they ran into when they were trying to find a reader or an analyst or a coach or whatever. And they told us things. And so what we did was we took all of that they told us, analyzed it, because, you know, 1-3s, and started to say, well, what would happen if we created the thing that solved that problem? So by listening to the tribe and allowing the tribe's kind of desired direction to guide us, because we don't have guidance of our own. Listen, completely open G center, and then this one.
I don't know where I'm going.
Okay. She doesn't know where she's going, and
she's got the 7-3, and so it's like, oh, we have to experiment.
And it's unconscious, guys. Like, where is that 7.3 at?
Oh, that's my chart. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't even know.
7.3 is down here.
Oh yeah, like it's in my Saturn, so I have to be the unconscious Saturn. And it's almost, to me, like the way I interpret it and the way that it comes to me is like, if I am not listening to the people, I'll end up doing something nobody wants. And I don't do that. I tend to like to do the things that people want because...
Oh yeah, because your motivation. She has the motivation of needs. So she is very adept at meeting people and figuring out what they need.
Yeah, and it may not be what you want.
Yeah.
What you need and what you want may be two different things. But yeah. And then she has motivation, desire. I also think, like, so that's not something we really discussed deeply here, but our motivations are in the same binary, the Ajna binary. I do think that actually kind of matters. I remember early on when I learned about motivation. Are you guys familiar with the concept of motivation? Everybody? Okay. I remember when I got to that concept and I was studying it. This was some years back, and I was like, man, I bet it would be awesome to have a motivation 3 and 4 together. Like, you could really figure out what people needed and then deliver it to them. And I think that that's one of the things that we as a pair bring to the table, is that sensing the needs, what do the people need, and then how to deliver it to them. Has been something that, because your motivation, you think it's for you, but it's not. It's not about my needs. It's about the needs of others. And well, I don't know, desire somewhat about you, but I think it's actually.
Yeah, I have not motivations, but what's the opposite of not having? I have an agenda. I do have an agenda. There are things that I want but then there are things that other people want, and I believe in people getting what they want. And if I could deliver what they want, that'd be nice.
Yeah. So, I don't know. The G Center, that open area, like what we've created is we have a Facebook group that goes along with the platform, and we just meet up with the people once a week and have them to express themselves, not just about the platform, but just in general. And what you find is those people showing up, and they're not in aura with us, but I'm starting to think that there's more to being connected than simply, like, people think that when you're connecting, say, over Zoom, that's not necessarily aura attachment. I don't find that to be true. I find that the aura is non-local and doesn't have to obey laws of physics. We know about quantum mechanics, spooky action at a distance and quantum entanglement. Yeah, like the shit is weird. It gets weirder as the longer you go into your experiment. I don't know, like, how long most of you have been, like, you've been in it for a long time, Mark. Let me just look over here. Shit's weird for you, isn't it? You know that shit's weird. The shit's weird. Super weird. Super weird. Okay. I just wanted to say that, like, it is weird. It gets weirder, and embrace the weirdness, because y'all know y'all weird.
No, it's the opposite though. You actually get to a place where everything else that you see is weird. You're the not weird one.
Yeah, like weird is the standard, because like for me personally, I am loving the fact that we have almost like a telepathic connection, but sometimes I don't appreciate it. Like, so our basement, our office is in the basement, and I'm in the kitchen, and I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm heating up water for tea. I don't even want tea. And then here she comes. I think I want tea. And I'm like, what the?
I was literally on my way to go make tea, and there's already water boiling. Okay.
And I didn't even want any. So I don't, I mean, that's kind of weird for me. But anyway, I guess we can, I think they gave us 90 minutes. We didn't quite need quite that much, but
we got some time left.
Yeah, we got time left. So, anybody got questions, or if you have charts and stuff, I know you guys both have your charts here.
I cannot wait to call the fake roll.
Yeah.
We love the fake. How do we feel about deep?
Because we created with, I have the 34, she has the 10, and the 57, so I have otherwise an undefined G, and obviously an undefined sacral, so I get that benefit. But then I have the 39, and she has the 55, so we've got that emoji.
I love that.
Her undefined solar, and my two defined solar.
So when you guys put your charts together, like what?
Do you want to see them?
Yeah, like what are the which open centers do you have, or do you have any?
We're 8 and 1 also, and our head is open together.
Oh,
so it's pretty fun for us.
Be inspired.
Yes,
and
we are.
She has, similar to your dynamic, Amy has the 61.
Yeah.
And I have nothing in my head activated, so that's our one little that we keep the flame.
Yeah.
And we love our open head together.
Yes.
We love our undefined head especially for what we do together.
Oh, so then are you guys playing with knowledge?
Yeah, we get inspired.
It's by inspiration,
all the time, like when we're together.
Yeah, I would think more ajna would be knowledge. I would think that was like.
This is
living your
61.
design.
In the middle, that's the knowing.
Let's talk about lived experiences. Our lived experiences with human design. And we only met how long has it been on my radar?
January 22.
Yeah. So we're new, but we met and we started a podcast like
the next day.
Like the next day.
Well,
it was very.
Yeah.
You knew?
She had already written a bio for one. She already had the name for it. She's the
I didn't know
creative
that,
person for sure. I'm like, I don't want to do that shit at
Can
all.
I see your chart? Can you hold it up?
What is it?
Love Human Be Spirit.
Yeah, it's called Love Human Be Spirit.
Can I find it like on Spotify?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
She's
storytelling.
even got stickers.
Yeah.
See, she's
Yeah.
the storyteller.
Okay,
She lets all the world. She's got
very.
44,
I'm like all
26.
abstract.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Logic
I like
happening.
I love that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I think. Oh yeah, please, stickers, yay! And I would love. I wanted.
I got a 4 line, so
Yeah.
dying to connect here.
I love that. So what I would love to do, because I have a notebook. If you want to stay in touch, we're gonna do it old school. Please write your name and yeah, there's pins down there. Yeah, give you your name and email address. And what I'm gonna also do, what we're gonna do is make sure to have some bonus content that goes along with this. We'll have it out on MySpirio. I did not do it in advance, so forgive me. But
Yeah, if you put your email down, we'll make sure that you guys get all the bonus content, which will include the recording from today and recordings from what we're going to be doing later.
Yeah.
I have a question about like the mother-daughter, even
Absolutely.
but I love that you're honoring and announcing as the mom that there's no hierarchy there, right?
Yeah.
And I do that a lot with my 2 kiddos. I was blessed with first is sacral, and then my son's an emotional manifestor too, and so my daughter has all 4 motors defined.
Oh, so she's going.
Yeah. But I was just curious, you know, how has design changed that deep understanding and honoring each of you like with your individuality and gifts, and then I'm going to use like language, you know, giving a pass for the things that you see in their design that just make you, you know.
Yeah. So I would love to answer this because well, I just like I got introduced to human design when Zora was about 16 years old. And at the time, so I'm like in my mid 30s and it's blowing my mind. She didn't get interested until she was about 17. And then in true projector style, like she was teaching me almost immediately. I was like, what the, okay, this is awesome, but wow. But what it did was it allowed me to understand in retrospect some things that I had observed. So before I learned about human design, I remember saying to her one time, like, I don't know why everything that happens in your life, like I got her, she was part of the teen council for the Museum of Contemporary Art in our city. Because I was stalking artists and I asked one day, like, hey, is there something for teenagers? And it was like 2 days to the application was due, and I did the application. It's like I'm doing everything. I get her into these art camps. I'm doing all of this stuff. And it was like I was feeding the baby bird. I was always bringing things to her. And I realized with the introduction of human design that this was, first of all, correct. That she wasn't supposed to be out there going to get something. I wanted her to go get things, but I didn't push her. But I remember asking that question one day. And then I remember coming back to her after I learned human design. I said, remember I asked you that? And I said that thing? Well, this is the way we're supposed to be. So it was really, when you talk about giving a pass, it's like just honoring that I am the go-getter and that she is the one who's supposed to be invited. I've been doing it for years. If anybody here knows me, you've heard me talk about her. I talk about her incessantly. And this is not new. This has been since she was a little baby. She'd come to my workplace and everybody's like, Zora, we know you. Like they were expecting her. And I think that for people who love projectors, you love a projector and love them, you need to know what's amazing about them. And then for me, it was about helping her to be recognized. And I didn't know that was what I was doing. But as I learned it more, then I'm like, okay, well, we'll double down on that because I want people to know what's amazing about her. And I think that, yeah, that's been the biggest thing for me. Yeah.
And I think something that's been great about her the whole time, even before we knew about human design, was that she was open to doing things weird. I remember when I was really young when I was like, oh yeah, I want to be some kind of artist. Like there was a dress up for like what kind of career did you want? And I remember I put on a scarf and I had like a recorder that they had as, you know, they make all the kids buy recorders, and I was like, I'm an artist. And I remember when I told that to her, and she was like, okay. And I think at the time it was like, oh, how does an artist make money? So she was like, write me like an essay about you want to be an artist. So I wrote like a little 2-page article. I found like sources and citations because at the time she was working with like a publishing company, I think. So I had access to sources and citations, and that was kind of like the foundation for being able to do a thing different, because I knew people, especially like when I went to college, I had a roommate and she was like, yeah, when I said I wanted to be an artist, my parents were basically like, don't do that, you'll never make money. Which that in contrast to, okay, tell me how you're gonna make money. These are two different mindsets.
Yeah.
And
One's expansive and one is
exactly, one is just really shutting down your kid, and she never shut me down. And I think that has been the greatest gift a parent can give is not shutting down your kid.
Yeah.
Believing your kid, being open to what your kid thinks and has to say.
Yeah.
What she did, she wanted to go to art school too, and this was where it was breaking and conditioning for myself. My first daughter went into psychology, now my next daughter's going into art.
Yeah.
My father's like, your kids are just picking the least
Basket
money-making
weaving.
things that
Like, yeah.
that literally exist. If there's 1 and 2, there's your kids. And then so I had said this to her. I was like, well, what are you gonna do? And she, with her alpha channel, she was like, everywhere's art. This building's art. This is art. Yes.
Everything
goes,
that makes your life
advertisement,
comfortable is art.
this. But what she did for me, she gave me the words to shut my father down.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I was too conditioned with that one. Oh, that's right, and then she was like, I was like, no, look at this is art, and I literally stole what she said and I brought it to my dad, but I was so proud of her for like owning it.
Yeah.
What's your profile? 4'6".
I had a similar situation. My dad's was an engineer, like a PhD in thermodynamics, and I remember him being raised. Baby boomer. He was born in 1940, and he's like, "Don't go to college for basket weaving." That's what he would say to us. And so, like, the reality is, you can go to college for basket weaving and have a great life. And it doesn't mean that you can have a good life and be an artist.
Education is never a waste.
Yeah, and it's never a waste. And that was the thing. Like, I guess one of the other things that happened, like doing things weird, was there was a point in time where Zora's in high school. And she has an A average across the board, right? But she's asleep at school the whole entire time. And she's coming home and going to sleep. And I looked at her and I said, something's not right. And a lot of other people would say, oh, well, your kid's got straight A's. What's wrong,
Straight A's, quiet, doesn't do drugs. She's
Yeah,
in her room all day. It's great, right?
Yeah, and the teachers love her, all her homework's done.
I guess we left it to.
Oh, I didn't plug up the thing. Oh hell.
Well.
Here, can you plug? Yeah, plug that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. That one's still taping. So anyway, it was really wild for me, and I went ahead and suggested something different. I was like, well, you want to try to switch high schools? She switched high schools to another art school because she was in an art high school. Went to another art high school. That wasn't working out well. I had already bought her a car. And I was like, well, you want to just quit school and go to college? And she was like, yeah. And she was 16 and just stopped going to school. Because why? Because someone said that's the way it should be. So my mom freaks out. What about prom? And I'm like, she went.
What about prom?
What about graduation? And you know
It's not a free plug over here.
what she ended up doing was going.
There's one right here. I could.
Oh,
You can unplug my phone charger over there.
Yeah. So what she ended up doing was going to a community college and getting all those crappy credits out of the way for cheap. Yep. And with her best friend who was also an art school student, they ended up going to school together at the College for Creative Studies in Detroit, and so it was just dope. It was like it worked out well. She was able to be much more honoring her own energy, and college for the teenager was way more appropriate, because having her be in a room for 8 hours because that's what you're supposed to do, especially a projector. I was like, oh no, my little projector baby is like dining at school. And it was just it was boredom. they would get mad because she was sketching all over everything, and I'm like, well, that's how she's coping. Okay, that's her copium.
Like, you want me awake?
Do you want me awake? Yeah. So that was, kind of, doing it different. And that's part of what I love about human design is it's an invitation for everyone to start doing things, different. Just literally crossing the street different is a start. Like, what did they say? Brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Like, do whatever weird shit you got to do so that you can, break your conditioning. Things don't have to be the way they told you. It was all lies. Yeah.
And they were making it up anyway. They didn't really know.
They didn't know. It was not, it's not like they, it's not usually like that someone was doing it on purpose or they're trying to hurt you, but literally they don't know any better. And guess what? You get to decide to try it different. So,
we're running up on our last 20 minutes. Does anyone have
20 minutes? Yeah, and we don't have to stay here for the, please.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I love what you all were saying about like you being able to relax your creativity. I'm a projector and an artist and always have felt like pressure around creativity, and my partner is a manifestor and has a lot of control, the control thing. So you're able to release control, you're able to release the creativity, and that was like mind-blowing to me. But like, do you have any suggestions on how to go about doing that when that comes as such a standard for?
Yeah, so for me, I think part of it is because I lived with her my entire life. It came really easy for me to release that kind of creative control, but I think it really didn't start until after I had left college because at that point I still identified really heavily with I'm an artist and I'm the creative one. And there was a point in time where I realized, I'm actually I'm clever. Am I creative? I would say not particularly. I'm actually I'm transformative. I'm mutative. Mm-hmm. I don't create things. I transform things. I transform things. So it really involves openness on the part of both people to be like, okay, yes, I had this training and I did this and I know this, but I have to be open to something crazy, something out of left field, something that I didn't even consider.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, that analogy of like concrete mind. I mean, I have that same 64 channel. Of
oh,
just
really?
Like, yeah.
So then
where I'm just like in that like kicks drive it in and like.
Yeah, it's really
that's
like
not very creative.
Like I think I can use it as like a battering ram. Like I can just ram through an idea, and it's like I could.
Yeah.
Or I could save myself the concussion.
Right.
And that's someone with an overhead nausea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then about like the control piece as far as releasing that, was that hard for you or like?
Oh, super hard.
Yeah.
Especially like because I I've been this my whole life. Like the control part, I didn't realize that that was me my whole life until getting into a situation where it's like we're gonna do this thing together and collaboration. So my north nodes are in gate 57, which are in the quarter of duality, which is about relationships. So I had been south node 51, gate of shock. Like I had been battering my way through life the whole damn time. And now I gotta go and be like a partner to people. I have to partner all the fucking time. Oh my God. Let me tell you, like my late 30s up into my Uranus opposition was all drama because I was learning how to be in a relationship because I had been so hyper independent. And so part of the release of control is the acceptance of partnership. And I just had to like lay down, like the universe was, it whispers. I heard this analogy, like first you get a whisper and then you get a tap on the shoulder and then you get a kick in the ass. Yeah, I was like, oh no, you're going to have to figure this out and you're going to have to surrender to being a partner. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to embrace that and just see how that goes, and it doesn't hurt as bad as, it doesn't hurt the manifestor nearly as bad as one might think. Okay, you had a question?
Yes, I did. So I work with an emotional manifestor, and from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, when you have a composite chart, whatever the composite chart's like motor situation is what your authority is going to be. So from you guys, it would be emotional, correct?
Yeah.
So how do you make big decisions? It seems like you've really figured out your system and how you interact, which is beautiful. Thank you for sharing. So when I'm working with her and we make big decisions, some things need to be made like right away. And because I'm splenic, I'm like, well, this is what I would do, but I'm not the manifestor. It's not my business. So how do you go about that? What does that look like for you?
Well, so what I would say is that in terms of, the emotionality is definitely driving our cycles. But from a business standpoint, what it looks like for us is that we work in sprint sizes. So I come from an IT background, and if any of you are familiar with agile development, you work in sprints. And so for us, it's like we're looking at what needs to be done in small chunks like weeks, and then a bigger chunk like a month, and then we have 90-day cycles. And what that does is that allows us to set priorities for these time frames. And I think when we talk about emotions, the emotional authority takes time. Well, it's really about clarity.
And taking time to collect the data.
Yeah.
Because I think when it comes to the business, even though our relationship is emotional, so there is a cyclical aspect and there's an overtime aspect, you actually have to feed data into the relationship for that emotional clarity to even like arise. Mm-hmm. So even though it might take a long time for you to examine that data, you can put data in at any time.
And then it'll build over time.
Yes. You can actually trigger basically emotional cycles by throwing data in.
Right. So like one types of data for us is like in terms of
like literal data, like
Google Analytics.
Okay, so there's Google Analytics as literal data. Then there's also these weekly meetings that we're doing with our providers on MySpirio. We literally every week, Monday at 2, we sit down and we talk to the people. First of all, we do a report of what we've been up to so that they know how we are improving the site. But then we also throw it over back to them, like, what are you guys experiencing as providers right now? And that's how we are able to kind of move forward and make decisions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are y'all live? Is it?
Live. We're just recording.
No.
That was MySpirio.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. If you go to MySpirio.com, so we are in alpha. So usually people launch, they're in beta. We're in alpha. We're still, ironing out technical stuff, but I do all my bookings on MySpirio now. So if you go to MySpirio.com, that's MySpirio.com. You can find providers there. We have, I think there's about 15 listed in the directory right now, and we're adding people every day. And the whole idea is that we want to have a place where people who do human design for money, and even people who are doing other things, like when I think about, podcasts, and I think about things like this event where we have conferences that are happening and people don't know about them. I don't even know, what's your name?
Orion.
Oh, yeah. It's like, this guy, we love him. This is Orion, y'all. Orion was at the other conference in Colorado Springs. So literally, I don't think there are many people who will have been at both. And that people would have even known that there was both. And what we want to do is become a hub for human design information. People around the world want to know what's happening. There are people who are looking to be connected, need to be made visible. There was a story from one of our seekers, and she was like, she had been in a course with me, but she spent $6,000 on human design services over the last year. She is a patron of human design. I love this woman. And so she had done a course with me, but she spent $5,300 other places, not with me. And I was like, damn, I could have, all right. Anyway, and she told me about one reading that she got out of the UK for 88 pounds. I'll never forget, 88 pounds. And she was like, it was one of the best readings I've ever had. And I'm like, wow. And she's like, but I have no way to share this woman. because it was just a happenstance. She doesn't have a booking link. And it's like, does she want to have a booking link? Yeah, I think she would like more business, but I don't even have a way to refer her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we need ways to be able to make sure that we're easily referable, that we can get connected, that we can be found. And, even working on some things, our creativity is, always popping off. And one of the ideas is like a matching system, like match.com, but I don't think for dating. Sometimes it's like, you want to find someone who will deliver a service in the style that you want. Because if you want a soft and gentle style and there's someone who has that more hard-hitting, rough style, that might not be the right provider for you. You want to know some of those like genre tags from Netflix. You know what I mean? Like dark and gritty, psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Do you like, or you want someone light and airy and funny or whatever?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
So I don't know. That's pretty much it. Do we have any other questions? Questions, comments? No? All right. So I think we're going to wrap it up. Thanks so much, everyone. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you for listening.
All right. We did it.